We are studying the option Greeks, alright? And so far we have studied delta, gamma, we have also studied theta, and now we shall talk something about vega. So we have already seen this definition that vega of an option measures the rate of change of options premium for a percentage change in the implied volatility. What does it mean? That means that if the implied volatility changes by 1%, then how much would the premium change for that option, for that particular option, whichever strike price you are considering. Now you see there are two words which have cropped up, that is implied and volatility. So before we actually understand vega, we need to understand what is volatility, then what is implied volatility, and then what is the implication of this volatility. Why should we understand volatility before understanding vega? All right. So you see, if we have to try and understand volatility, then we will have to get deep into statistics and study things like normal distribution and standard deviation and things like that. But I would not like to deviate from the topic and go into statistics. So what I will do is I will try and explain to you volatility in a method which may not be technically correct but may be adequate for our understanding. All right. So let us say that for a given period of time, say for the next 1 week or 10 days or till expiry, whatever period of time, let us consider that the price of this option of Tata Motors moves between the point A1 and A. That is, the price fluctuates between 335 and 340. So this would be considered as almost static. There is not much of a movement. All right. But consider another scenario where the price fluctuates between point B1 and B. That is, the price varies between 330 and 345. Now in this situation, you would say that the stock price is little volatile. It is not stationary, it does not stay at a place, but it is fluctuating between 2 points. It is little volatile. And another scenario, let us say the price moves in the stipulated time. Let us say the price moves between points C1 and C. That is in the range of 325 and 350. Here you would say that the stock is more volatile. And consider another situation. Let us say it moves between D1 and D, that is 310 and 365. Here you will say that the stock is highly volatile. All right. Let me admit this is not the technically correct way of explaining volatility, but I think it is adequate for us to understand. All right. But the point is, why do we study volatility? What is the implication of this volatility? See, the implication is higher the volatility, higher the chances of the option expiring in the money. Consider this. For example, this blue band A1 and A. If the volatility is only this much, then all these out of the money put options from 330 to 310 and all these out of the money call options from 345 to 370 stand very little chances or practically no chance of expiring in the money. All right. But let us say if the volatility increases to say B1 and B. In that case, these two 325, 330 put options and these two 345 and 350 call options, which are red now, they also stand a chance of expiring in the money. So as the volatility keeps increasing, more number of call options and put options tend to expire in the money, and the chances for these, the near ones, also increase. So practically what it means is that the buyer of the option has more chances of winning. We already know when does the buyer of an option win, whether it is a call option or a put option. He gains when the option expires in the money. All right. So by increase in the volatility, the chances of the buyer winning also increase. And if the buyer's chances increase, then therefore the writer of the option or the seller of the option deserves more premium, isn't it? He's taking more risk. His chances, buyer's chances are increasing. That means the seller's risk is increasing. So he deserves more premium. After all, the stock market is a very fair, level playing field for everybody. If one is at an advantage, the other should also get the advantage in some other form. All right. So that is the logic behind studying volatility. All right. Now you see, having understood volatility, we have to get into what is implied volatility. All right. Volatility you have understood now, though in simple terms, not exactly in a statistical manner. But now you see, there is something called as historical volatility. Now, historical volatility is something which is calculated based on the past data. You see the data of the past month and calculate the volatility with the help of a computer. In a couple of seconds, it will give you what was the volatility of this particular stock or the particular index. But that is an old story, gone days. All right. Then there is something called as forecast volatility. Depending upon how the volatility has been in the past, you can forecast how the stock will behave in terms of volatility or how the volatility will be in the days to come. That can be done with the help of computers and statistical calculations, mathematical, that will give you, a robotic or a computerized result. Then there is something called as implied volatility. Now, what is this implied volatility? This is the likely volatility based on the market's perception. You see, the stock market respects the historical data. It also respects statistics, mathematics, and all the scientific calculations. But the stock market does not solely depend on the computerized data. Market takes into account the perceptions and the sentiments of its players, the buyers and the sellers. All right. Then the news flow. Sometimes the news flow may be positive, sometimes the news flow may be negative. It may be sudden at times. Then the events, something good happening, some good development in the economy, or maybe some negative impact like a sudden occurrence of 9/11 or something like that. Then the psychology of the people, psychology of the players in the market, that also affects the market. The greed, the fear, and so many other things impact the market. So when you calculate the volatility, taking into account all these things, that is called as the implied volatility. And that is calculated from moment to moment with the help of a dedicated team which works for the stock exchanges and high level computers which keep on working this implied volatility. So it is different from historical volatility and the forecast volatility. What you see in the Greeks, which we saw earlier, for the call options and the put options along with the Greek, what you see as IV, that is the implied volatility. All right. Now we come back to Vega to understand it better. Vega, as we said, measures the option's rate of change of premium or the option's price for a percentage change in the implied volatility. Implied volatility, we have seen what it is. It is all given on the screen when you look at the option chains and the Greeks. All right. Now let us say that today for a call option at a strike price X or Y, Z, whatever, at any given strike price, let us say for a call option, the option premium is 10.5 dollars or rupees or reals or yen, that doesn't matter. All right. and the implied volatility is 20%. All right, this implied volatility is also given to you in the option Greeks table, which we see on the screen. All right, and then the Vega for that particular option where the premium is 10.5 is, let us say, 0.2. All right, so the implied volatility, let us say, in the next couple of days, maybe a week, 10 days, whatever time period you decide, let us say the implied volatility changes to 21.5. Now, what will be the new premium because of the change in volatility? All right. Let us say the change in implied volatility, or the IV, is 21.5 is the new volatility and 20 was the old volatility. All right. So the difference is 1.5%. And we already know from the definition that Vega is 0.2, and that means that for 1% change in implied volatility, the premium changes by 0.2 because the Vega is 0.2. All right. Now here, how much is the difference in volatility? The difference in volatility is 1.5%. So considering the volatility alone, the premium would change by how much? That would be 1.5 multiplied by 0.2, so that is 0.3. All right. And now since the volatility has increased, the premium, which at 20% volatility was 10.5, now at 21.5% volatility, it should be 10.5 plus 0.3, that means 10.8. All right. Please remember, we are seeing Vega, or the effect of volatility, in isolation. All right. But things will not work in isolation. By the time Vega has had this effect on the option price, something else would have happened in the market. The stock price may have increased or decreased. Maybe there is some news flow. Some other thing would have happened which would have pulled the price in the other direction, or maybe pushed in the same direction. So the resultant effect we do not know at the moment. We are not talking of that. We are just talking what effect Vega will have in isolation, or what effect volatility will have in isolation if it happens. All right. So now this premium has increased by 0.3 because the Vega was 0.2 and the volatility increased by 1.5. Now let us say if the volatility drops from 20% to 18.5%. Say today it is 20%, tomorrow it drops to 18.5%. So what will be the effect on the premium? In this case it will be negative. It has dropped by 1.5%. Vega is 0.2. So the effect is 0.3, total effect of Vega. But that 0.3 will have to be subtracted from 10.5. So the new premium will be 10.2. If the volatility had gone up by 1.5, the new premium would have been 10.8. If the volatility has come down, then it would have been 10.2. So see the difference, 10.8 and 10.2. The fluctuation is 0.6, which is considerable. All right. Now, you need to also understand that Vega is maximum, or the highest, when the option is at the money, whether it is a call option or a put option. When it is at the money, the Vega is maximum. And as you keep moving away from ATM, either you move towards OTM or ITM, the Vega will keep dropping. All right. Another thing to note is that Vega declines as the option nears expiry. When the number of days to expiry are more, say 30 days, this line, Vega is more. The number of days reduce, Vega reduces. Number of days reduce further, Vega reduces further. Before I conclude, let me make one thing very clear, that Vega and volatility are two different things. They are not the same. Many people confuse Vega and volatility to be the same. No, they are not. In essence, Vega is the effect of volatility. Volatility may be the cause, but Vega, in a sense, is the effect of that volatility. So, when the number of days to expiry are 30 and when the number of days to expiry are 10, in both the instances, the volatility may be the same, say 20% here also and 20% here also. But the effect of that volatility on the premium, what you call as vega, that is more when the number of days to expiry are more, and that keeps on reducing. That effect of volatility keeps on reducing as the number of days to expiry reduce. All right, so I hope that is clear and things are not as complicated as they seem to be. Am I right?